Going live, going live. Let's see if we are live. So, yeah, it looks like we are live. Thank you for joining us out there. Um, Welcome to OreAni. This is the 2020 summer season, the end of the summer season anime lineup roundtable discussion. With us today, as always, we have our good friends Albert,
Oh,
Vinny,
Hello, thank you for having me.
and Sean.
hey.
Surprisingly, there's still some shows he can watch.
It's a
So,
miracle.
yeah, thank you all for joining us. We're going to be having a little fun. There's not too many shows I could say that I'm proud of this season, but
Which is
at
season
least,
to forget.
yeah, but we have at least some shows we can talk about. And it seems that the most popular title that most of us have seen today is going to be Re Zero Season 2. And I gotta say, I am loving this season. Just episode after episode, I'm just blown away by what's going on and just loving it. Um, it continues right off from the first season, so you definitely have to watch that. And then it just moves on, and it seems that this whole season has just been one giant arc.
Yeah, it does seem that way.
Like in the first season, we had multiple arcs. I would say about 5 different things happening at one time, but it's just this one is just one continuous flow. Just a lot of crazy stuff happening, um, and I've also noticed one other thing that has made this show extra fun, and it just shows how much content that they have to pack into each episode. Is that there's like only two or maybe 3 episodes that actually have an opening credit. The rest all have creditless openings, and even at the end, they still play videos with the ending credits, and they don't even show ending credits for some of them. Because there's just so much information that's being told to us for this one season that's just. I feel that they just don't have enough time, and they're rather than skip a lot of things or make it spread out across a whole lot of episodes, they're trying to make use of all the time they can for this per episode for the season, and I'm really enjoying that. But for you watching, of course, we're going to be talking about some spoilers, but hopefully you've seen this first because there's a lot that's happened, and I would. This is one of my highest recommendations right now for the season, as probably one of the top animes in this summer. How do you feel?
Well,
And there you have it.
all I can say is that if you've watched the season one and like that, you'll probably watch the season two without a doubt. If you watch the season one and get traumatized by it, you may or may not want to watch the season two. I watched the first couple episodes and I kind of fell behind the track. That's why it's that this color, like a lot of series this season. Uh, I really can't comment beyond that. It's either you watch it or you don't. I don't think there's really gonna be a in between on this series.
Yeah, so a couple of things, right? One is this was actually originally for spring season. It got pushed back due to the COVID-19 pandemic that is still ongoing. Um, and it is also a split core, so the first 13 episodes will air is airing this summer, and then the second part of it will be in winter 2021, which begins in January of 2021. So there is that. Uh, and I think in the first episode of the second season, they did do kind of a transition from season one, if I recall correctly, or maybe I'm not. So at the end of season one, after the whale arc, everything had kind of a happy ending. But if you watch the director's cut version, which got released over the last during the spring and winter and spring of this year, right? They modified some things. It's mostly for Blu-ray fixes that they aired, but at the end of all of that, they did tack on a different ending than what was originally aired, which gives you a giant cliffhanger because something happens. And so that part, so I think I can't remember for sure, but if you watch the first episode of season 2 and there's some things that don't quite match up with your memory, you might want to watch the director's cut version. Okay. Because it basically, spoiler, sidelines best girl according to some people, right? Immediately. So that whole mystery kicks off season 2. So kind of important to know that. And I think it's well worth the wait. The animation has remained top notch. The story is very dark. You know what the premise is. You know, Subaru is basically just a normal, I think a 17 or 18-year-old kid. And he has no power except for, return by death, which means whenever he is killed, he can redo from a certain save point. It's like a game save point. And so part of the interesting part is seeing him try to put all the pieces together as he goes through bad ending after bad ending to try to figure out what he did wrong, what he missed, and try to put the puzzle pieces together so he doesn't die, so he doesn't have the people he care about die in sometimes horrific ways. And so it is a twist on the isekai genre. It is a kind of a horror twist, and that's part of your enjoyment. But if you don't care for, in some ways, it ends up becoming very miserable watching experience because you just keep seeing him fail multiple times. So there is that. But overall, I think it is probably the best show currently airing. And I'm looking forward to the winter 2021 when it resumes. Although I think we still have one more episode to go for this core. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this weekend. So, and the adaptation. They are covering a lot. Seriously, they're covering a lot of volumes in the light novel, as far as I can tell. So I have only read like the first 2. Yeah, I think I've read the first 2 light novel, which was the very, very beginning, the very first arc of season 1. And here I think we're up to. Let me see.
I think it was volume 11.
Yeah, this whole arc I think covers up to 15 or 16 of the light novels. So quite a lot to go, and it is just crammed full of things. And you will pick up things if you rewatch each episode that's not quite obvious on the first run through. So yeah, it's it is essentially a puzzle solving, and you, along with Subaru, can try to figure out what he's missing, and trying to do an impossible task of trying to save 2 different groups of people in 2 different places at 2 different times. And I think it's a near impossible task for just him to solve, and that's his problem. He's trying to solve it on his own, as far as I can tell. So, anyway, it's highly enjoyable to watch each week.
Yeah, I feel that as we go on with each episode, Subaru's mind is pushed more and more. He has these more mental breakdowns than anything we've seen. And after each mental breakdown, he has this recovery, and I believe it's doing really good at building up Subaru's character. Also, I've been somewhat spoiled a little bit, but also cheating, I guess, because of that, by going on to certain YouTube channels and getting like missing content that they took out or didn't add because of time, and getting a lot
of light novels compared to the light novels.
Yeah, some of them are from the light novels, some of them are from the web novels. I guess they're still both going or something like that. And there's just a lot of things that they took out that just adds a lot more to the show, but I can also see why they took it out, because it would be hard to pit into like the White Rabbit incident with him. Just the web novel, I believe, was very graphic and everything that happened. And also, one thing I didn't notice until I started watching these videos was that whenever Subaru does his return by death, he's instantaneously reawakened. I always thought there's like a period, like he all of a sudden wakes up. No, it's once he dies, he's instantaneously revived. There's this no pause period, so that's why you'll see him in pain or moving around his body right after he wakes up, because he still has that memory of all that pain, because he was just feeling it and stuff, which I thought was very interesting that I never took note of. And some of the sites are really nice to try to avoid too many spoilers, but I would highly recommend, I think it's called OreAni News, which is on YouTube. They do all these, missing content for ReZero, and they do a really good job of trying to avoid spoilers while giving you a lot of extra content on what's going on. And because of that, I think I'm enjoying this show a lot more. And yeah, everyone's sad. Rem is gone. But the show's still really good without her. Yeah. But yeah, highly recommended. Everything is just going like I got goosebumps in some of the scenes. Just one of them was like he just looks into one of the characters' eyes, Garfield, and he's like, I know hell. I've seen it. And it just sent chills down my back, and just the dialogue is really rich and everything, and the voice actors are putting a lot of effort, I feel, to deliver these lines to make it feel so much more impactful and just really fun.
Yeah, the voice cast is top notch. Garfield, they pulled in someone. What's the actor's name? Not Matsuoka. He's the voice of Accelerator from Index and Railgun.
Oh yeah, him.
So you'll recognize his voice. Right? So plays a pretty important role, and then there's all the others returning characters. except for Rem.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all doing a terrific job, and I thought episode 11, Rie Takahashi, who voices Emilia, I thought she did a fantastic job portraying some darker aspects of what happens to Emilia. So I'll keep it at that to keep it spoiler free, but I think she's doing a terrific job. She's growing as an actress quite a bit. And she's also very popular too, obviously, Emilia, and she's the voice of Megumin, and she's also part of a singer's unit, the earphones from that Sorenga Seiyu, Life of a Voice Actor anime. The three main characters from that, the voice actors formed a singing unit. So. Yeah, and she has her own cooking show too, so that's pretty interesting. I watch it sometimes on YouTube.
You have to give us a link. We'll check that
out. Sure.
But
no, it is. Someone does subtitle it, so. But yeah, it's been a great ride so far, and I'm. The next episode will be the end of the core, and will be very interesting because I did not expect a Tea Party to expand to that degree. I think if they had left it at the last episode, at episode 12, it would have been fine too. Although I'm sure in this day and age of the internet, people would be pretty pissed that it was such a cliffhanger, especially for a split season. So,
Yeah. So, like, Vinny, how far have you gotten? Just out of curiosity, just.
Me?
Yeah.
I stalled at episode 3. Yeah, I didn't go far. I got behind a lot of series this season.
Okay. Honestly,
There's not a lot this season. What are you talking about?
I honestly thought the dark green color was the shows you finished. So that's why.
No, it's the other way.
Okay. Now I know.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I did hear one other thing was like about the trial with Emilia, is that if you watched I think there was like an OVA about her, like a prequel with her and Puck or something like that was also released.
Yeah,
that it can give you some insight.
Memory of Snow.
That it will give you some insight of what's maybe going on or something like that. I haven't seen it yet, so I was like, do you know anything about that or?
No, I have not watched it yet. It's in my queue, but ended up rewatching The Devil is a Part-Timer. So.
Well, can't blame you for watching a good show. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next title. Let's go to a title that I have no idea about and give you guys a chance to talk, because I've heard people mention it, but it doesn't get talked a lot about, which is DecaDence.
One of the two shows that Sean watched this season.
Yeah. One of the two. I don't know if it's the better one or the worst one, but
so is it an isekai or is it not?
It's not. It is a. If there's a genre called the trigger genre, then this is part of that genre. This is the rebels in fighting against the techno authoritarian, tyrannical overlords in the desolate desert planet future.
It nailed it.
So within that framework, it throws a lot of weird ideas around, and some of them are kind of cool. Some of them are kind of rip-offy. I still think the whole bit where they fight the monsters kind of reminds me of the 3D maneuver gear from Attack on Titan. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. It's a perfectly serviceable, watchable thing. I actually don't have that much to say about it. I came for the director who made some interesting things in the past, and I was hoping that he could spice this up somehow or make it more interesting, but he kind of didn't. You know, it sort of played straight to the genre. It doesn't, like, it seems to have some themes, you know, especially encapsulated in the name DecaDence, but it doesn't engage with them in any way. Like, you never really, like, I can guess why the thing is called DecaDence, but they don't really talk about, like, the nature of a decadent society, or, you know, the nature of entertainment, or, you know, escaping into fantasies, or blah blah blah. You know, it's weird. It's almost as if the show once had ideas and then it kind of forgot about them, and then it just sort of did this straightforward, you know, trigger, like, fight the monsters and then fight the authority and save the world kind of thing. So I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed by it, and also the production values kind of went up and down, you know, because some episodes were like straight up outsourced, and you could tell. And so yeah, I mean, this director is kind of like a Sakura director in the sense that he tends to attract a lot of interesting talent. But, you know, I guess COVID just throws a wrench in all production schedules, and it kind of shows in this one as well. That's all I have to say about DecaDence for now.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but I did not really see any of his Sakura talent brought to the fore in this one. You know, there's only a couple of scenes where they're in when they're fighting the monsters, the Gado, and then there's the 3D kind of movement, right? But other than that, it's kind of disappointing in the Sakura itself, because Tachikawa is known for most likely for directing Mob Psycho 100, both Series 1 and Series 2. So I was expecting something a little bit more than standard. But it's, again, like Sean said, it's not a bad show, and, you know, the big reveal, the big twist happens not in the middle, but in the second episode. The second episode begins, and you're like, what the hell? So it happens early on, but it's not, the two different worlds that they're living in is not really well explained, even at the end. You know, so my dissatisfaction was episode 11 and episode 12, where it should be wrapping things up. It wrapped up way too nicely. Not a whole lot was explained between the connections. It went from a Warcraft style MMORPG to a Sim style RPG, and everyone seemed to be fine with it. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So it was fun to watch, but I don't think it's something I'm going back to watch, because it was great or innovative or especially interesting.
Yeah, thinking back on it some more, the ending did leave a bunch of weird ideas on the table, and, you know, it's like it wrapped up way too neatly, considering that, like, you know, one race enslaved the other for entertainment purposes, you know, which is like an extremely dark idea. And then, you know, the end of the show is just kind of like, and then 3 years later, well, that's all done with. Now we're all living in harmony. You know, it's just like, you think about that, and it's like they never really went through, like, why was this system necessary in the first place, you know? And there's just lots of unanswered questions.
Yeah, I mean, even the entire portion of do the other people, humans, the tankers, do they know the truth? Because, you know, at one point they're like, you can't tell any other person because they'll all be immediately, you know, determined to be a bug and killed. So none of that is answered. They just know that, hey, the war against these monsters ended. Hooray! That's it.
And yeah, and here are these weird, I don't know, mascot robots that you're gonna live with now.
Right, and
it's like, do they know? Do they know the legacy of slavery that they endured, or?
Yeah, it's just weird, right? Because there's a definite clash in the stylistics of stylistics, the style of the two worlds, right? The cyborgs, which I thought originally were just digital beings, but I guess they actually had physical bodies, and that transition was awkward too. And then the humans, who humanity as a whole completely fucked over the world, and so they were deemed, they can only live if we completely control every aspect of their lives, so they don't screw it up again for us. Which is another weird thing. I still don't quite understand how the cyborgs came into being. Maybe that was explained and I just kind of glossed over, but yeah, a lot of unanswered questions, and yeah, that's the main problem. So if you're just watching as an action adventure, I think there's some neat twists in there, and it follows a standard arc. And I did like that the MC is, this girl, this orphan girl, and seeing her grow and accept and move on in the world was nice, instead of always the shonen protagonist. But yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions at the end.
Hello, Nick. Thank you for joining us today.
What's up?
I was just about to write a scathing message to Tank that a lot of the shows that got postponed didn't make it back into the list for discussion.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. I was like, that's so last season.
Feel free to add it in.
But they ended this season.
Feel free to add it.
Yeah,
I'll submit my partial.
Yeah, if you feel like you want to talk about it, just go ahead and write it in.
Okay.
But what do you think of DecaDence?
I was kind of in line with like Albert there. I really wanted to look forward to something from it. Episode 2 really impressed me because it just like floored me with its premise alone. So I really had high hopes for it, but I was really like, it's not that the content wasn't entertaining. It was just that clash of that like cyborg world, because that's kind of like what they were supposed to be. Like you kind of perceive them as robots, but the story was they were cyborgs, and it's not very well shown like how we got there. Like, where is the human side left in these robotic cyborgs? Where, like, why is the color tone so crazy? And I know that's like a stylistic choice, but it just kind of clashed. And while it wasn't an interesting show, it definitely I feel like it held itself back from achieving like something kind of even greater. So, and I don't know. I just don't know why.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like the premise was built to address something grander, but then maybe halfway through they're like, we need to dumb this down and make money or something.
Well, like, I don't even think it's that marketable, because like none of the characters are like, I can't just envision them like getting a lot of product licensing revenue with this thing.
Yeah. But I guess in the sense of like, let's not make this show like too big brained or anything. Let's just make it a simple, like, the Trigger people can watch it. Just make it so close to a Trigger show that if the DecaDence had a drill instead of a fist, they would get sued.
All right. So that was DecaDence. So what is that, like, your guys' thing? Like, watch it or not, or give it a try?
I think episode 2 will floor you, so at least stick in for 2, maybe 3. But outside of that, I can't push for like finishing this one, because it was entertaining, but not that entertaining.
Yeah, we will scarcely remember this show in a couple of years. It's like totally serviceable, watchable, entertaining, like action thingy, but it ain't great.
It's on Funimation in the U.S. So if if you have an account, and sure, you've got time, watch it. It's one of the better shows for this season because this season was so. The season was not great. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to correct you on that, Albert, because this next title
I'm not so
is
sure.
is just awesome. I was floored by it. Misfits of a Demon King School, or whatever this show is called. The Misfit of a Demon King Academy.
You don't even know. You don't even know the title of the show you're trying to push.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, it's trash.
It wasn't a very decadent title.
I swear, Crunchyroll pushed this show so much. Like, I kept on getting all these, oh, you should watch this show. Oh, here's an interesting show you may like. Or,
I think they know you well, actually.
oh man,
I actually quite liked it.
I couldn't. I actually woke up early to try to finish some shows, and I'm like, let's watch a little more of this. And then I was like, screw it, I'm getting more sleep after watching an episode.
Well, okay, so when I watched it, right, I watched the first episode, and I knew exactly where it was going, so I was like, I'm done. And then it just kept popping up in like various YouTube recommendations and things. Hey, watch this. Hey, watch this. Analysis of Misfits of Demon King Academy. Like, no, I don't really need to. So what I did do was I watched episode 1, right? Didn't watch any of the other episodes. And then I said, okay, I'll just watch the final episode and see what happens. So I watched episode 12, which is not the final episode. So I ended up watching 12 and 13 on like fast forward, essentially. And I pretty much got the entire story. So I don't feel like I wasted that much time. It was exactly what you would expect. And if you're into that kind of genre of super OP main character doing everything possible and not really having a real threat to contend with, although it seems like it really isn't, right?
Hey, I challenge you on that one.
Eh.
Like, it's a power trip show, but
Yeah.
there's like a key difference here.
What is that key difference, Nick?
I'd say a lot of its like attitude was actually vastly superior to a lot of like stuff kind of before it.
Yeah.
Because I just kind of like how in the face of like, because the show constantly did this thing where it's like all these characters have this bias against like what you are, and this main protagonist as like a reincarnated demon king had like this endless optimism, and like he didn't necessarily care because he was all powerful, but like that ending fight, like that reincarnation twist that the ending was able to kind of come up with, and then like just slight spoiler, they didn't think that the Yusha from like 2,000 years ago got reincarnated, but he apparently did, and it wasn't like the typical opposition that you would think between Yusha and Demon Lord. It was actually like some other aspect of humanity that was the problem here, and it's like picking up from 2,000 years ago. You kind of had this like Yusha Demon Lord like synergy that I kind of like, I'm like, this is cool. I like this. I wouldn't say I got that feeling early on in the show.
Yeah.
Like I knew it was coming here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. So this show reminded me of what is that? It was called Hagure Yusha no Aesthetica. So it's the Rogue Hero Aesthetica.
That one's fun. I like that show.
Yeah, even though the animation fell in here and there, in that one, in the Rogue Hero, the main character's attitude is, I'm a badass, and I know I'm a badass, so screw you, I don't care what you think about me, right? And so, and a lot of, in a lot of these other genres, in this genre, where the OP character is like, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing, tee-hee. No, this guy, the Demon King, Anos, Anos knew exactly what he was doing and the exact limitations of his power. He just wasn't sure why things turned out the way it did, and that's neatly wrapped up at the end, where it is explained why people don't remember him, why people don't refuse to acknowledge him, and all that. So, yeah, in that sense, it was well done. I think it is well done for the genre. I just don't really care for the genre itself.
Yeah, I can understand that, but I was like, nah, this one was actually pretty decent in comparison to a lot of the other stuff specifically that we've been getting.
I think you're being paid by Crunchyroll to say that.
I wish.
Like, there's a lot of those other shows that I was like, I could see myself watching this. This one, I'm like, I should be watching this, but for some reason, everything
No, this one was
tells
like
me not
legitimately
to.
one that I would spring forward. Like if I had other backlog stuff going on, this one typically like, oh, I got to get to this one.
Well,
Tank, you've watched far worse isekais of all kinds of crap. Okay, so don't give me that.
yeah, but I had like other material sources to go with that I loved before I saw it, and that's why I watched it.
Doesn't make the anime good.
It does. Let me see here. Let's what was the next title we should talk about? Oh, let's do this one. Excuse me, I got pit behind because I was too busy being thrown off by what Nick was saying about the show. Let's just do this one. I'll do this one for fun. Rent a Girlfriend. Yay! Rent a Girlfriend. What can I say about this? People love talking about this to complain. I've been going on Twitch and just hanging out in the art channels, and every time this title comes up, everyone has the same thing to say. And then, of course, you have the trolls out there that just love to rile people up by saying, Mommy is the best girl. Oh my god, every time someone says that, it triggers the whole room, and you get all sorts of discussions and just flaming, and just like, I've even had I've seen an artist out there that drew on Picardo because, you know, it was 2H of just her being in the worst situation because he hated her that much. But yeah, Mommy is not a good girl. I mean, I could see why you would like the design, but not the person as a character.
She is
at
not
all.
a good person.
So this was a show that I wasn't even going to watch. I was like, I don't care for this show. It's not interesting. And I think I only got 3 episodes into it when I said that. But because of everyone talking about it so much, and then with that new blue-haired girl show up, I was like, wait a minute. How come everyone's still talking about this show? So I ended up watching some more of it. And I gotta admit, when that blue-haired girl, I can't remember her name, I forgot it, but when she did show up, I was actually a little more impressed. I was like, okay. I like how they told her backstory in this, like, in the ending animation. A lot of people did complain, like, they should have given her an episode for that, but I was like, just the ending thing is kind of cool. But after that, I lost interest again, and I'm like, yeah, the anime isn't going to do much for me, so I just went straight to the manga and started reading the manga. And I gotta admit, I got way farther in the manga than I got in the anime. But even then, I'm like, it's just keeps on going and going and going. I don't want... Yeah, I'm dropping this. I ended up dropping it, and I just couldn't go on any further, but it seems like quite a few of you also share that sentiment with you dropping it. Maybe not Nick, but...
Well, I watched episode
Maybe
1,
not.
and I was done with it.
Oh, you gotta at least go to 3.
No, I don't really need to. But, you know, because people are talking about it and it's such a popular show, I don't know. I am curious. I'm keeping up to date on reaction videos. So some people are just reporting on what's going on, and that way I can summarize if the show, if trash main protagonist Kazuya has actually improved or not. And pretty much everyone is saying no, he's still a jerk. At episode 11 of this, at this point, he's still an asshole. I can't watch another show like that. It's just too goddamn depressing.
Yeah, this protagonist just seems to bring out the worst of everyone, I swear.
He's not a good person, man. He's got this weird NTR fetish, so I can't watch that. But hey, good news for all you guys who like it. Season 2 was announced. Hence the picture. It says season 2.
Yeah, it was like the weirdest message at the end of the season because it almost seemed like, I'm like, are you trying to like ask people to like read the manga, or is this like a weird season 2 announcement? I know they did a separate season 2 announcement, but it was like the strangest thing ever. But yeah, no, I mean, I did watch it. I'm not like a huge fan of the show. I do agree with Albert. Like, from people who I've heard of, like anything that I've heard of people who are like a fan of anime talking online, this was like a show that was being watched by like the average viewer, I'd say the most. And I wouldn't say, like, I thought its premise was kind of interesting. The fact that, a character kind of found this like almost like Rent a Girlfriend, supposed to be like a therapy service, but not strictly therapy. But it kind of had this like weird and like a Romeo and Juliet kind of premise where like the characters were seen by families. They had to like kind of keep up this charade, even though like the family doesn't, and the friends for the matter, don't know the full story. But I will say that towards the end of it, it actually kind of picked up. There's a lot of characters who had to like explain themselves, and that's when I started getting invested in this series. Like right as it's about to end. I think it was like literally the finale episode where the moment I'm specifically was talking about. But it added a lot of depth to some of the characters that I was like, oh, okay, this show could be something decent now. We'll have to see how season 2 handles it. But it took that long for me to get that moment, like finale episode.
Yeah, it's just a weird show, I think. And this is the show where sure, you get like 4 cute girls eventually. One of them shows up pretty late, I guess. And there's clearly best girl, okay? Best girl is Chizuru, and Chizuru is voiced by the voice actor Sora Amamiya, who voices Aqua. So there's that, and she's the only good part of the show. And this is a show where you're watching it and you go, she's best girl, and you do not want best girl to be in the show. You want a show about her and not about Kazuya. That's how I feel about it. Like, you should be in a better anime than this. You deserve better. So that's all I have to say.
What kind of show is this? Is this like a drama or a comedy, or is it something skeezy like Ishizoku Reviewers?
I believe it's a comedy or rom-com.
Okay.
Outside of the high school element, at least. They're in college, I believe, right?
Yeah, he's a second-year college student.
So at least we don't have to deal with the whole high school aspect of it, but
you do get to see him blow $400 a day on renting a girlfriend, okay, with the money that his dad said hey, this is for your living expense, or I forget exactly what, but he gave him a ton of money and said, I'm not paying you anymore, get a life, kind of. And he's blowing $400 every time he meets this girl because he rents her for the whole day. And most of the happenings can be just avoided if you're just honest about things. So everything is the entire premise is built on a lie, and of course it's gonna come crumbling down at some point. Anyway, yeah, it's a rom-com supposedly, but it's not a rom-com I enjoy, especially because
I was about to say the comedic elements are very strange because they don't hit like general comedy. Like it's amusing, but to me it's not the funniest. Like it seems that it's more sitcom than rom-com in that sense. I'm not pushing it as a sitcom, but
the comedy stems from a lot of misunderstandings, I would say, rather than them making jokes out.
It all comes from misunderstandings.
So.
Yeah, but that's still more situational than romance.
Oh, hey Jessica.
Hello.
Did you watch Rent a Girlfriend?
No.
Oh, why not?
I can hear the disdain in your voice.
I haven't watched much of anything this season, except for my usuals.
I mean, you're completely, isolated from all the fires and everything. You have to stay indoors.
Oh gosh, yeah, I haven't had a vacation since December, so I'm a wee bit tired. And actually, as we speak, the smoke is coming over the mountains again. So, I was outside enjoying the clean air for the little bit left that we have.
Well, as clean as it could be. Oof.
Yeah, so we just finished talking about Rent a Girlfriend. Yeah.
Best show 2020. No.
If you say so.
I don't know if it's best show. It's probably going to be the most watched show by the general anime community.
Or at least part of the season. Actually, let's go to another title that's super popular. I gotta figure out how they named this again. Okay, there it is. I sometimes forget the name because everyone just refers to it as Sagodakai. Have you seen Sagodakai?
Uzaki-chan wants to hang out. Come on.
Yeah, all we know is Uzaki and Sagodakai. We don't know the rest of the title. So.
I actually didn't really know that one's Japanese name that much because it doesn't come up that much.
So we do have that show, and this was another thing that was talked a lot on amongst the artist community for Twitter, or not Twitter, but Twitch. I guess Twitter too, but a lot of people were drawing Uzaki because of her lovely features. I actually participated in a competition where it was like drawing Uzaki's face. And
did you make a Kyrie?
No, I just drew a bunch of sketches and actually got 4th place, which I was kind of happy with. Yeah, everyone loves Uzaki-chan for art. Everyone loves drawing
her. For art, yes.
Everyone loves drawing her, but like there was so much talk about it because of all the Twitter things that were going on with the redraw, drawing Uzaki in a more realistic way, or the proper form of Uzaki, as you would say.
If the animation was portrayed a lot different from the original manga, then I'll say they have an argument there. But there's really no discernible difference between two medium. So my take is that they need to get a life and move on to something bigger and more important issue than worrying and fighting over why Uzaki seemingly have a size double D hanging around unnaturally.
Yeah. Well, it has died down, but it was just so much fun to see at the beginning of all these people just talking about it. And I think the target right now is this HoloLive English thing that's going on, or VTubers. But yeah, the Uzaki thing though was just real fun. Just watching people discussing about it. What's going on this day? What's happening now? What are they complaining about this time? But the show itself was.
Yeah, I'm just shaking my head over that.
Yeah, the show itself was really fun though. Like, I admit it has those moments of the etchiness and I was enjoying it so much that I decided to spoil myself and just go straight to the manga source and start reading the manga. And the manga and the anime aren't too far from each other, some slight things. I will still say though, I hate that stupid cat's face. I can't stand that cat. But
can you post a picture of said cat?
We did earlier, but not in this stream. In the last one.
Ah.
But
I'll try to look it up.
Alright.
Yeah, that cat is just. I'd hate it. I don't know why it keeps on showing
Well,
up.
not only do I not like it, I specifically hated the moments where they would show it when they were like doing stuff in the apartment, because it's like, dude, you are out freaking side. How are you even reacting to what's happening inside a place you don't have line of sight on?
Oh yeah, there's that cat right there. Vinny posted.
Well, it's not doing its like face thing, but yes.
Oh gosh, no.
It has worse face than that, I swear. But
Yeah, it's normally it has its mouth open, and yeah, there you
Oh
go.
my god.
but
Oh.
I did learn one thing though about, or from watching this, was that Fang, although hers is this flesh Fang, which is what a lot of people got creeped out about, I think,
Mm-hmm.
rather than being a tooth or white colored, it was the color of her flesh. But I did learn that it's actually a popular thing in Japan that even some people go to the dentist to get fangs hit into their mouth to have that.
I would
Kind of
figure almost
thing.
anime made that popular. I don't think anime picked up after the trend, but I would have no clue because I don't live over there.
I have no idea either. I'm just
I
saying.
actually go and
I was
I need
surprised that
look.
it's a thing. I was surprised it's a
geez.
thing that they do in Japan.
I've heard that like kind of crooked teeth in Japan is considered cute, and that's kind of what the fangs were originally supposed to represent.
Oh.
Yeah, it's where, you know, Japan did not have a lot of dental work in terms of like braces and things. It wasn't very popular and it wasn't very known. And it's not exactly, it's cosmetic, right? For the most part, it's considered cosmetic. So, you know, the national health insurance isn't going to cover it. So if you don't have enough space in your jaw, when all your adult teeth come in, some of them get pushed aside, and often, you know, the fang, your canines can be pushed out slightly and not in line with the rest, and that's what it represents. It's called yaiba. Yaiba meaning it's your canine teeth. Okay.
I remember that Kimetsu no show.
Yeah. So yaiba means the way it's written. It's sword tooth. So
interesting.
it's your canine
actually.
tooth. Yeah.
Like I was
Anyway,
being
it's
sarcastic.
considered-
I thought it was like differently related to that word.
For girls, it's considered a cute trait, but you know, if you really think about it, it's not, because your teeth are not in line, and it can cause chewing problems, and it's not great, right? But it was, I think it still is considered at some points cute for girls, not necessarily for guys. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's only cute for guys with their shark teeth.
Yeah, I was about to say, jeez. Yeah, that shark grin. Anyway, back to the show a little bit. There was actually one element that I rather enjoyed, and I kind of had this moment of, oh wow, like the naming scheme doesn't work anymore. So as we knew, the show was about Hana Uzaki, right? And her name was because she was annoying, yes? But Hana Uzaki has a mother who is not annoying. She's genuinely a good person, but she still has this Uzaki last name because of basically, her daughter. Not that that's the order that should work, but because we needed the thematic name, the mother inherits the thematic name. That's how it works in anime manga humor. But one of the funniest things about this show, and I wouldn't recommend watching it just for this, but a hilarious point that I would just like to highlight for the masses amongst us who aren't going to watch it is the protagonist of the show has a very scary face, like a naturally resting, like intimidating face. And that freaks out a lot of people, cats being one of them, but he is actually a cat lover. And they don't ever acknowledge the cat that's like the mascot cat of this show, which is great, because at least he doesn't like, oh, that's a cat. But so he generally likes to interact with cats, and Hana has, I believe, 2 cats. So he goes over to her house a few times with the intent to hang out and play with the cats. But one of the comedic elements of the show is he's always, him and Hana are always talking about him getting the cats getting comfortable with him so he could pet them. But because this show is about like misunderstandings in the Japanese communication, whenever they're talking about that topic, their mother overhears, and she has the wrong conclusion that they are trying to warm her up to that protagonist character and like have this like really unhealthy relationship. So that's like a really funny part of the show that develops later.
So another thing to add to that, which I found hilarious, is if you read the manga, whenever the episodes of the mother happens like that, and they have this misunderstanding, the translator will put at the end of the chapter with the credits, this little caption, Dojinshi writes itself.
Jesus.
Oh, it was hilarious every time I saw that. I was like, oh my god. But a lot of the supporting cast in this show is really fun as well. It's not just always the Uzaki and Senpai and everything that's going on with them. When the supporting cast comes by, the master in the shop, even and her daughter, when they're thrown into the loop, it's still really funny, and it's just really great. I especially love how the master and the daughter are just so much alike, that they just love watching people, and they just have so much fun watching the interactions of Uzaki and just they have this always thing where they're just like, this is the best meal we could have, and just eating rice with it, and just making this gesture that as they're just eating up this atmosphere that's going on between them, and they're just loving it. It's just, the comedy to me is just great, and I have a lot of fun with it. So Albert, did you drop it, or you just didn't finish it, or?
Wait, what? For Uzaki-chan?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I watched one episode, and it's not my thing. It's the same reason I don't really care for like Karakai Jozu no Takagi-san, where I just don't really care for the whole comedy of one person being super annoying or super, I don't know, just being annoying and trying to be cute at the same time. So, yeah, no.
Okay, I see. And then I just take it, Vinny, you just didn't have time to watch it, right?
Yeah, I think I went up to about episode 3, where they introduced he's a part-time plays the master and his daughter, who seems to be very interesting in observing those two dynamics going back and forth with each other. But I do agree on Albert's sentiments that those annoying character who thrives on becoming a thorn on the side is really not my thing either. For that reason.
Really? I thought you
I
would have
couldn't.
seen this.
No, I watched it somewhat because I like the series in manga form since I don't have to hear a voice. I think the voice really did the numbers on me more so than anything else. But I really did not care for Takagi-san either for that very same reason. I didn't find it to be very endearing.
I see. Okay. And then looks like Nick is the only other person that saw this, or
Might as well be.
Wait, so did you like it or not?
I did enjoy it. The funny thing is, not to go off on like a huge tangent, but I actually really did enjoy like the Takagi-san thing, because I didn't feel like the root of that was supposed to be like annoyance. I could see how it would annoy him, but like in this show, like Hana really did kind of play that role to the T, as her thematic last name kind of indicated, and it wasn't done in like bad taste. Like there were some moments where I thought some things were a little bit like too extreme, but I know it's going for humor and it's not going for like, it's not trying to play like a serious card. But I just thought that like in respect to what the character was doing, I did like how like at least she wasn't like extremely like tsundere or something where she was like, you know, stuff would happen and like the main character would like get wailed on or something. That didn't happen all the time. So I think I appreciate like more of that side of things rather than like um characters who are like downtrodden on all the time. But yeah, I mean, I found it enjoyable, but I could see like not being able to recommend it to the masses.
excuse me. All right.
I think the series will sell well if it comes with shirts pre-packed.
Yeah. Sagodakai.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and move on to the next title then. We got. I believe this
Only
is
if the
from
shirt
last.
has like sewed on bust up pads already,
This
just
is-
for like comedic purposes, not like trying to bash at like anyone. But
This is from last season, I believe. Hokago Table Nishi.
Mm-hmm.
the one that was on there that I didn't have to add, what's up with that?
Diary of Our Days at
Gotta go
the
into it.
water break.
Yeah, so as you know, I'm a connoisseur of moe. So every season I pick a moe show to kind of watch, and this one came up, and I actually really enjoyed this. And the reasons are, there's a couple of reasons why, but let me share an image here. We'll see if it shows up. But basically, this is based on a manga series, and it's cute girls doing cute things, and in this case, it is about fishing. And Kina, the short-haired brown girl, she actually moves to a region in Kyushu. So this is not set in Tokyo, which is interesting, and you do get to hear the Kumamoto area dialect. So there's an actual, like many anime shows, the fake city that they live in is based off of real city in Kumamoto Prefecture, and the scenery, the background art, like you see here, the beach, the breakwaters, all of that is based on real locations. So that's one thing, and I'm pretty sure this would have become like another holy land, anime holy land you could go visit. Unfortunately, currently because of the pandemic, and also the region suffered a extreme amount of heavy rain, and it caused a lot of landslides. So they're trying to recover from that too, which is unfortunate. But the basic premise, like I said, is Hina moves to where she used to be, back into the kind of the, not a major metropolitan area, and she has always been kind of an indoor girl, doing indoor stuff. So this might remind you of that one show, Encouragement of Climb, where the main character is also an indoor, likes to do handcrafts, and in her case, she does a lot of felting, some sewing, makes various teddy bears and things like that, stuffed animals. But she meets someone on her first day living, and she is roped into applying and joining the Breakwater Club, which is the fishing club. So here, if the image is showing up, those are the four main girls in the Breakwater Club, and they go on various fishing. So you might think, oh, it's just cute girls doing fishing things, but in fact, they do actually go and explore what that fishing means. So they go over things like, what kind of lures do you use? What kind of bait do you use? What kind of rig, meaning the entire pole and the reel assembly. Sometimes they do bobber fishing. All of that is explained in the show. And in addition to that, they do talk about important things like don't leave your mess there. Try to always get all your lines and hooks out, because it harms the wildlife. There's an episode which is a little gruesome, but you see a bird that keeps stealing her catch, and that bird only has a couple of toes left on its leg, on its claws, because it got cut by fishing line entanglement, cutting off circulation. So they do cover things like that. They go to a fishing shop. They talk about with a shop owner about different things. There's a pool episode, as you would, right? Of course, this is anime. You have a pool episode, and the girls are just going to be playing around in. No, actually, they are, talking about water safety, and they're talking about life jackets and different styles, and you need to be able to float. So they, with your clothes on, if you happen to fall into the water, into the ocean. So they cover things like that. So I was actually pretty impressed with the content of it, and it does take a serious look at the hobby of fishing in all its aspects. So if you liked Eurocamp, which is cute girls doing camping, but actually telling you about the different camping and the fires starting and cooking and all that. If you liked Encouragement of Climb, which is about hiking and climbing and actually giving you the information necessary to kind of be more than just, oh, they're doing cute things, going over equipment, going over route planning, going over safety. So this is another show in that, and I think this is a good show for people who are interested in more than just cute girls. So I highly recommend it.
So very informative.
Yeah. I think I have another. Let me see if I can get another picture up. Share a screen. There's a scene. This may traumatize some people, but there you go. They tell you how to gut a fish, and that is although I haven't done it with this particular fish. Is it showing up? Probably not. They do go over things like cleaning, your catch, and how to best clean it and prepare it for eating. And some of it is pretty realistic. So if you've never cleaned a fish and you think it just comes from the supermarket, yeah, it might traumatize you.
I think only thing it's missing is actual smell of it.
Yeah, that one. Very true.
All right. How many episodes was it? Just out of curiosity.
12.
12. Yeah, the first 3 got aired last season, then, the pandemic, so it got delayed. And then they re-aired the entire 12 episodes. So the 3 episodes and the unaired 9 episodes. So it's a total of 12.
I see.
And I believe the manga is ongoing, so there's talks about season 2, but nothing was announced at the end of it.
I think it's regrettable that I don't know how popular enough for this to get a second season.
Yeah.
And yeah, throughout the watching it, that I did get the same kind of a vibe as the Eurocamp, which is has a great details on the industry, so the hobbies they're representing in great details, very informative, and the characters are very likable. Some of the characters don't have the prototypical stereotype attached to it, which I think it was actually doing a good service for by not having that attached. Like the Hina's friends, one with the little hair that's always tied up in the sticking out, that she turns out to be actually the smarter one of the two.
Yeah, very true.
And how the Ono seems to be the quite reserved one, except she has a great fear of the water, and that whole hijinks kind of centers into the whole pool episode of water safety and what have you. And I think the only stereotype really stuck to it was the teacher, who's a drunkard.
Oh god, Sayaka-chan, she's not a good teacher.
No.
she's the nurse, but
yeah.
So there was the teacher in Eurocamp, right? Gubine would she ends up drinking a lot.
Right.
But Sayaka is like worse than that. She's she's completely a beer fiend, and takes advantage of her students fishing, right? So she'll swoop in at the last moment, like, I'm your, what is Komon is a teacher who has to oversee the club.
The advisor.
Therefore, you should feed me. So, there are times where she is serious, but oh my god, she's not a good person.
No, most of the time she's just like the bird heron that just scoops it and goes away with the fish.
Yeah.
But I throughout the whole series, I'm watching it, I just had the same kind of a vibe that puts a smile on my face. I hope that more people try to watch it, even if they don't have much interest in fishing.
And when I watched like Eurocamp, I'm already camping and backpacking and hiking, so I'm already part of that. But I think if I wasn't, I would be interested in starting. And for this, I've fished before in both ocean and river and lakes, but I'm not really that into fishing. But I do want to actually go visit this area in Kumamoto, because I haven't actually been to Kyushu before. I'm pretty sure I've only been to Shikoku. So I would like to go next time I go to Japan, although probably not anytime soon, because Americans nobody wants Americans coming over with our diseases. So but I would like to go to Kumamoto and go visit the city, and the actual shop is still the shop, the Takohigeya. The shop is based off of a real shop. So yeah, I would like to go visit sometime. So that's why I wanted to recommend it to people.
All right, thank you. For the next title, we're going to go to a Netflix special, which is what I saw, The Great Pretender. I so happened to watch this with a group that was doing a live broadcast, and I saw a lot of it. Like, I'll admit that I was preoccupied with some other things, but overall, it was a really good show. It was. I was surprised actually. It was done by Studio Wit, I believe. When I was watching the credits, and it was very, very entertaining. I believe it's. I can't remember if it's like 3 arcs or 4 arcs within the whole show, but it's all about swindling. So it starts off in Japan, where you meet our main protagonist, who you find out is comes from a family where the father is known to be, I guess, a swindler. So it seems that he's just taken up the mantle, and through the course of him, in the first episode of him establishing himself as this master swindler, the best in Japan, he gets taken in and swindled himself, and in order to try to get his money back, he ends up following this gentleman and finds out that he's part of this bigger group and that he was being recruited to help them with a big job to swindle some money out of this rich tycoon guy in California. So one thing I liked about this show was that the locations aren't just set all in Japan. It's actually set mostly in other countries. We get with California at the beginning. They eventually go to Europe, and different locations for each job that happens. And it's quite a ride at the beginning, because you don't know who's who's trying to swindle who's trying to get the leg up on each other, who can you trust, who can't you trust. But as it goes on, bonds are established. Who's part of the group, and also you learn why they swindle and have become this big some organization that's doing all this. And it's just...
Are you saying they have reasons for swindling?
Not
Can't
good
swindle
reasons.
if you don't have reasons.
Not good reasons. They don't have good reasons, but you can see why they...
They got backstories. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, so... Like...
how do you like their depiction of the United States?
It wasn't too bad, I guess. It was kind of interesting because it starts off with this really strange dubbing, or them trying to speak in English, and then midway throughout the episode, they're like, okay, they're talking in English, but everything's Japanese now, so just know that. And so the main guy also talks with this really weird accent where he ends a lot of his sentence with the "su," and it's to depict that his English has this weird accent. And they always make a weird comment on that too, like, where did you learn your English? You got this really weird accent. So I'm kind of wondering how they hear him, because everything is said in mostly a different language in English rather than in Japanese amongst this group, because everyone speaks English mostly. And it's... At least I would say watch the first arc. If you enjoy the first arc, then you may enjoy the rest. And just seeing how they depict the locations and the events that happen, they're just pretty fun. And I wasn't expecting anything from this. I wasn't expecting too much, but so after watching this, I was actually quite pleased that I sat in for this whole thing. And it's easy to marathon since it's on Netflix. It just all came out in one batch. No waiting a week or anything like that.
That's actually kind of what turned me off from watching this show, because I only got 2 episodes in, and because all of them are available, it doesn't release in the same way that I can watch it episodically, because I probably go against the grain, and I'm mostly an episodic watcher. I just can't... If I go to watch it, I just can't watch it once a week if it's all available, and I don't see myself as having the time to marathon it while trying to fit all my weekly stuff in. So it's the one thing I couldn't get to.
You're saying you need the broadcast schedule to maintain discipline to watch a show?
I do. I absolutely need it.
I mean, I'm sort of the same way, is that I can't really binge watch. I just have never been able to, and so when anime goes to Netflix jail, I kind of go, oh well, I'm probably not going to see this.
I was able to watch that like Japan Sings thing, but that was like what I could get to.
Yeah, I kind of want to recommend it and say give it a shot because it was, like I said, it was decent, and also they play a Queen song for the ending credits, and it's kind of funny. You got these cats coming out, start singing this song.
Oh, I have to watch it just for that.
But yeah. Not much else to say because I watched this pretty early, so it's been a while since I have it in my mind. But the production value, I think, was pretty decent throughout the whole thing. There are some, of course, it's anime, some over-exaggerated elements that do happen, but overall, it's. I kind of wonder, like, if some of the locations are 100%, like they took it from, maybe they went to California, took some pictures, and got those certain locations, or if everything was just made up.
I mean, don't underestimate Google Maps.
Yeah, because like
that's what everyone does now. To do like location scouting is just Google Maps.
So, but other than that, not much else to say about it. I'm surprised no one else has watched it, but then I guess without you binge watching it, you wouldn't.
You just watch Japan going to start using Microsoft Flight Sim for location scouting instead of Google Maps.
I don't have the title card for this next topic we're going to talk about.
See you, Albert.
Bye, Albert. Have a nice one.
Oh, I was waving, but I'm video muted.
Oh, Vinny left too.
And Vinny.
Uh-oh.
He probably just got these.
Oh.
Yeah, there he is back. So the next one is Aggressor Atsuko. Oh, sorry, Aggressive.
That's
Aggressive Atsuko.
That's its new name from now on.
Retsuko.
That sounds like a canned soup.
I'm sorry, I was just trying to get it from memory. I didn't even look at the sheet. I just remember it's aggressive something.
It's a season 3.
I haven't seen season 1. I hear that the people who have watched it like it and it's good, but I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I typically think they're all aggressors.
Yeah, Atsuko is a known aggressor. I don't know. It's like it's enjoyable. It's like normally enjoyable. It might be my least favorite season because it kind of jumps the shark. It's like you barely see the office in it. Instead, she gets this side gig. This like very hard to believe kind of side gig that like takes her death metal persona to the next level, and like that sort of becomes the all-consuming main story. And like it's like the show kind of ran out of office jokes, which I don't blame it because they did season 1, and before that they had a 100 episode like gag show before the Netflix thing. So they've actually done quite a lot of office comedy in the past. So it's like, well, where do you go from here? It's like, okay, we're gonna instead Retsuko is going to stumble her way into the idol industry and find herself like managing this idol group, and then it also escalates from there. Let me just put it that way.
Something of a baby metal-ish.
Yeah, it becomes a huge baby metal reference. So yeah, I don't know. It's funny. It's entertaining.
Yeah, I
But-
think the season 1 was the best.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it kind of loses some of its own identity, but in the end, it's like forced to return to the office stuff because Retsuko is not just a TV show; she's a Sanrio mascot character, and you can't like change it too much. You know, it would be fun to imagine a show where like Retsuko is not an office lady, but she's like doing a new thing in a new industry like every season or something. And you know, season 3 kind of alludes to that. Like this is what we would be doing, but so it does do the idol stuff, and it's like mildly interesting. You know, it kind of touches the subject with kid gloves, because you know the as you know, that industry can get pretty dark, and it, you know, it's run by the Yakuza, but but you know, Retsuko doesn't go there except with like creepy fanboys or something.
Ah, those obsessed one.
Yeah.
I had a mental image of the Perfect Blue.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so what happens to Retsuko is kind of a rip from the headlines thing, but that just happens at like the very end of the show. It's sort of this climax. And meanwhile, Haida gets a love interest, and then he's sort of caught in this like Tenchi Muyo situation of like, do I love this one or do I want that one? And you know, and it's just kind of like frustrating and tedious. But
That's about the only thing left right now.
But you know, aside from that, it's watchable. It's fine. You know, I'm not going to say it's bad or anything, but
All right.
it ain't my favorite. Ain't my favorite season.
Okay. I was kind of wondering about it since you put a unicorn next to its title. But...
Yeah, there's this really good gag early on where like Retsuko starts using this. She puts on like a VR headset and sees this like virtual boyfriend and gets really obsessed.
Yeah.
And it's this like you know, like Bishonen unicorn man. And then like and then like her office colleague notices like how weird Retsuko is getting, and then she figures it out. It's like, oh, she's doing this VR boyfriend thing, and then she gets into it too, and they're both obsessed about it.
Goes into gacha hell, spending so much money.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty good gag. It like takes place in the first couple episodes.
All right. I may pick it up. I mean, I'll see what this new season is going to be about. It looks like it's a lot of continuations of like season 2 stuff, or maybe 3 of this for this next, what's it called, fall, right?
Well, one of the benefits of the show is that it's easy to watch because they're like half length, like 15 minutes?
About.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's cool then. That's cool.
Production value remains consistent, which is to say very basic.
Yeah. Like I look at the credits sometimes, I'm like, oh, it's animated all by one guy. But you know, that said, it's a fine looking show. Like I wouldn't have it any other way. Like I don't need Sakuga from Retsuko.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next title because I'm kind of curious about it. I didn't finish the first season. I want to, but I feel like this show wasn't talked as much as when it first came out, which is the NN no Shubutai, that Fire Squad show, whatever.
Fire Force.
Fire Force.
2 things that I watched this season.
Yeah.
So like, what is it still good or?
I think so. I mean, but I will say with a caveat, pleasure. Okay. So you're only gonna get mileage out of it if you like shonen and are able to put up with a few tropes. But the last, let's see, episode 11, I think, had some crazy cool Sakuga fight scenes. So if that's your jam, it might be worth sticking it out. But if you don't like shonen and you have, you know, just basically really hate the tropes and stuff, you will not like this show. Because it leans into those old standbys quite a bit.
See, I really liked season 1. I thought, like, if I was a like if I was once again early into my just getting into anime, it would have been like one of my favorites because it had this style, it had this attitude. I appreciated the theming. It started with an action scene that was like pretty amazing, and like it had a few moments here and there where it generally looked amazing. So I really pushed for season 1, and when I started watching season 2, I gotta say, like, my adoration of the show has tailed a lot. Um, how they introduced like the new season, I don't know if they're going off
Oh,
the manga because I don't like do the manga side of things, so they might have absolutely been bound by somebody else. But to me, episode 1 of season 2 felt like a weird OVA episode
oh
that
yeah,
like didn't
it was
need to
horrible.
be there. And then like it it lost a lot of that like style and attitude in season 2 specifically. Like it's coming back, it's here and there, but it's just like all the reasons that I love season 1 aren't as present in season 2. So like to me the sell is even tougher now. But I still enjoy the show. It just parts of it have showed their shonen weakness. Like
Hmm.
there was this one like one of these arcs is they had to go to I guess this like Chinese peninsula thing, and things got really weird, and like that whole thing was to me weird. Like I didn't appreciate the antagonist that eventually went. I liked the mystery that it unraveled, but the antagonist was kind of trash, and some of the new supporting characters they introduced were a stretch. Like they're
See,
not permanent supporting characters, but
I really liked that arc a lot. But yeah, you're right. The antagonist, there wasn't a whole lot of emotion behind him. And definitely I agree with the criticism of the first episode is that if you've watched all of season 1, do yourself a favor and skip season 2, episode 1, because that's kind of the hey, if you haven't watched Fire Force, this is who all these people are episode, and it's not in the manga. That was completely
okay.
an original. And
I
I remember,
thought it felt like that.
oh, this is awful. But I have a soft spot for Atsushi Okubo's character designs. Is the man knows how to make cool characters.
Yeah,
Really.
like there's parts of it I really do enjoy. It's just like season 2 makes it, in my opinion, a tough sell to people. But like I said, I'm positive to this show. It's not like it's a stretch for even me. But
Yeah.
but yeah, like one of the things that I don't know why is like the ending grew on me, and I know the ending isn't character design, but that like weird video game cinematic sequence thing. I'm like, I kind of dig this now.
Oh yeah, because I actually don't care for it. And the opening I don't like as much either. Is the season
Yeah.
1 opening was amazing,
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, and this one just feels like they phoned it in.
Yeah.
But
It's
I don't
part
know.
of the style.
Have you watched any of this at all?
Me?
No, Tank.
Not season 2. For the first season I did. I watched, I think, maybe to episode 17 or something like that. I did get pretty far, but I didn't finish.
Well, I think it's safe to say that if you don't feel compelled to finish season 1, then you probably aren't going to like season 2. It does get into more of the world building, which I've always been a fan of. And one thing I can say is that a lot of shonen tends to retroactively build the world as it goes along. But this mangaka is not like that. Is that it's very easy to tell that he thought about the entire world first and then inhabited the characters within it. So nothing feels like a retcon, so to speak. Like with Naruto, the first few episodes they're going around with all these ninja powers, and then suddenly they stop it in its track to talk about chakra because we have to explain the ninja powers now. There's nothing like that in here. So the world feels very grounded and believable to me, and that's.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
One thing that I actually found enjoyment from this season, like, because there are a few fights here and there that bring me definitely like ground my interest back into the show and how like as the situation develops, that's what's got my interest. But one thing that I do thank season 2 for is kind of like one thing that wasn't established to me in season 1 is how essential, like, like the sister nuns were with their prayer, because
Yeah.
it almost felt like it wasn't necessary, and season 2 kind of really sold this element of, like, our opposition is technically immortal unless, like, those sisters are around. I'm like, oh, season 2 could have done, or season 1, sorry, could have done a much better job of selling that point. Then, like, why would you push that off to season 2? Because I thought, like, I'm like, okay, so what if they're not around? Just punch the bad guy and he's gone. And they're like, no, these things are eternally suffering, and the prayer actually, like, kind of temporarily makes them mortal again, and you can actually put them to rest. I'm like, that really needed to be explained in season 1 a lot better.
And see, that was explained in the manga. They just kind of glossed over it in the first season. And I don't think I realized it because I'd read the manga.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they reiterated that point in season 2, I was just, oh yeah, they probably should have done that way earlier.
So what was that they say? Like Atom or
Latom.
They do that thing with their hand like that too.
Yeah, the prayer arch thing.
I thought that was always an interesting element that they added. I thought it was just to ease, the minds of the people that
Yeah, I know.
their
It felt
family
like this,
that
like,
happened.
weird
But
religious sect that didn't need to be there, but it actually does serve a purpose. I'm like, oh, okay.
that's interesting. I did. Okay. So you're saying that the quality and everything still continues on?
I would say so. Yeah, it's about the same.
So I may watch it then. Like, I had no problems with it. I think it's just that due to me reading and also going into other things that I just didn't finish. It wasn't that I didn't like the show or anything like that. Because I did like how they did a lot of the scenes and made this silhouette of him looking like this evil guy, even though he's like one of the nicest people out there.
Yeah, it's like whenever he gets, like, the tension rises with him, his face just has this muscle memory of this really bad looking thing.
Yeah.
So it's like whenever tension's riding high with him, kind of pushes off his evil face. It's not intentional.
And all in all, this is a really creative adaptation where a lot of adaptations that I've noticed that come from manga, they'll just do a panel for panel recreation of the manga. But this doesn't do that. Is they really think a lot about the scene, the lighting in the scene, the music, what the characters are doing, the sound effects, cinematography, all of that. And I think in the last episode 12 or 13, that really comes to a head with, is it Inspector Licht? Or Professor Licht, where they show him in a way that's extremely sinister. And I really appreciate that creativity from the director.
So one other question I have, I guess, would be, is this 2-core like the first season, or is this...
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a chance to catch up before the end, I guess. So let's I'm definitely, yeah, I'll probably try to pick it up, hang out with you guys, be fire buddies. Like I said, it was good. It had interesting things, and I also did like the Lucky Skib moment where it's not with a guy, it's with a girl and stuff. So.
Oh, that's the one element of the show I absolutely can't stand.
I don't personally like it.
Do this. We're fighting.
Yeah, you should be fire buddies with, like, Jessica as her state burns down.
Yeah. The reversing the trope, man. That's what we're doing. Sorry. Okay. Let's go to the next title, we're going to push the ad on Crunchyroll. The God of High School. I swear Crunchyroll's name was in this so much. That's all I saw.
Was this as bad as, what was it, the Tower of God or something that was a couple seasons ago?
I couldn't tell you, I didn't watch the first one.
Oh.
The Tower of God, I quit really early. This one, like, I did quit watching it, but it wasn't because the show is bad. It's just that it didn't have anything to really hook me. Although a lot of people were like, "Oh, I was touched at this moment. Oh, I couldn't believe this happened," and that they said that there's these, I guess, reveals of character reveals or something that showed you who they were more as a person. But I just never got interested in them enough to be like, yeah, I care about him. Or so these moments where they, I guess, tried to push it and give this drama where you're like, oh, I'm so sad. I can't believe that happened. I didn't get that because I just wasn't invested in the characters, I guess. I would say the first episode was hilarious, though, with all the antics that happened. But other than that,
That kind of seemed like the case to me. I know a lot of people, after watching like the first episode or two, like really hyped the show. There's a lot of people who just like said, "Oh, go watch this thing," and I just kind of feel like after that, where it showed its weakness, because I found it enjoyable. Like I'm probably gonna watch it all the way through if it comes out with as it goes on to tell its story continuously. But I almost felt like you had this weird, fight tournament thing, and then people with like not powers, but whatever you want to think, the fighting scale showed up, and it seemed like such a sloppy mess to me, that that's when the show kind of started devolving, and I can't really say that I even continued to witness people still hype this thing as it aired. Like, episode 1, 2, 3 hit, and people are like talking about it, and then like near the middle to late part of the season, nobody was talking about it, in my opinion. And I could see why. Like, I mean, I'm not a person who can usually watch a series, and as much as I would hate to ask that you like you wash a culture away, like the naming scheme of the Koreans just isn't something I follow strongly, because like I'll hear their names and then I'll like never remember them or never know who they're talking about. And that doesn't it doesn't happen to me with Japanese names. It's just, Korean naming. And the story, I wouldn't call it good, but like the abilities of the players are intriguing, but the world that it created is kind of not enticing to me. So I don't exactly know how to describe it, but
so we did get a question on our chat here of God of High School is like an anime arc, right, where the whole show is a tournament. But I think I saw up to episode 6, and the tournament that it started with ended, which I think
don't
was
think it ended
just
at that point. No, it went on maybe like a postponement or something, but
no, because wasn't that the final with him and that one guy? But then I think
No.
they're going to another tournament. I think it's just that was a
Yeah, and that was the resolution. I get what you're saying now. Yeah, but the tournament continued because remember, that was to get selected to go fight the other more bigger global one. That was just like the regional, so to
yeah.
speak. And so like it wasn't like it was a tournament in and of itself, but it wasn't supposed to be the whole show.
Yeah, the
It was
tournament.
like the one who wins this can go on to continue at the global scale.
So yeah, so I guess because I remember at the end of it, it showed like, oh, so there's more people out there that they're gonna have to fight, and it's just gonna. I wonder if it's just gonna be that one character. I don't know, because I didn't continue past that, but I would say that what was I actually gonna say? Sorry, brain fart. Just I don't know how I feel about this show. I don't. It's not something I want to recommend. I'll at least recommend the first episode because of how funny it is. But they started showing these weird other elements that are coming into play, and this underlying thing with like special powers, which I don't know. Like if it was a normal, martial arts tournament, I thought it would be a little more fun. But then the thing that threw me off a lot as well is it in the title, high school, right? Yeah, some of these characters, I'm like, no way, that's a high school student. That's like a 40-year-old guy or something, or at least it looked like that to me.
Although, like, he was just held back a little bunch.
What's going on with these character designs? This is high school, right? But I don't know. Just that was my beef with some of the character designs.
So I think, like, to me, what really started losing me was, like, powers were introduced, essentially, and they have this, like, explanation of basically, like, ki. But, like, it's kind of this weird scale where you could almost, like, form a contract with an already existing being and, like, borrow their powers/abilities, or you can manifest your own. And it was just, like, really weird realm to think of that, like, there's pre-existing things, and then there's, like, self-power development, and, like, it's an interesting concept. I just don't know about how it was implemented, because there's characters who are like weren't aware of it. It's like that was probably the weirdest element to me, was you have this like god of school element, and like you have these characters who are like essentially coming out of the woodworks, right? Like, not in the first tournament, you didn't really see it. Maybe Japan was really isolated from this. But, like, in the rest of the world, everybody's already, like, using this. I mean, I guess everyone else would have been sifted out at that regional scale. But it just seems so weird that, like, characters can be fighting in Japan and all of a sudden hit this world of, oh, yeah, they're superpowers. We've known about them for years. Like, it's strange how the public doesn't catch on to this stuff. And that's, to me, is like the world building sin. Is like you just have these characters who find out that powers exist, and like a lot of them are ancient and seated in tradition, and you have people finding out powers like, what? That's a thing? It just seems like, I don't know. I just hate like when things are handled that way. Because I mean, what I would necessarily be complaining about here is like let's just go back a little bit to even talking about like Naruto or something. Like Jessica said, like they had to come up with chakra and explain the fighting system, but it's like it would almost to me be like, think of it in that sense, whereas like the characters are like high school, right, and they're fighting each other already, and then you enter this world of, oh yeah, these powers have existed for a long time and many people knew about them, but somehow the public just never caught on to them existing, like in general, even though it's been there for years and years and years.
I haven't seen the show, but it is by description a premise that's hard to buy, like in the modern day, like unless this takes place in the 80s or something. But
yeah, no, it's modern.
You know, like the nature of the information society and the internet and all that, it just means that everything is known. There are no secrets in the world anymore. Everything's known. So you can't have a premise that's just like, oh, by the way, superpowers. I forgot to tell you, superpowers.
Alright, let's get to a more wholesome show then. That was God of High School. The next topic, very wholesome, is Monster Musume Doctor. Monster Girl Doctor.
Wholesome, sure. I haven't even seen the show, and I know you're lying.
It's wholesome. They cover very practical healthcare elements. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's a very generous description.
I mean, there were some really dangerous moments. People's lives were on the line. This doctor had to put everything.
Like once, maybe.
Okay, yeah. So, Monster Girl. Yeah, I just finished watching that today. I was like, I woke up early. I'm like, oh yeah, that show existed. I should finish it. So I binge watched the final half of it, and then I was like, okay, pretty much what I expect. it's just, I think it's a Monster Girl per episode type of thing. And I think at the end of it, I think for 3 episodes you did have kind of a small arc of a thing that was happening, but you still got introduced to a new Monster Girl issue that would need Dr. Gren, I think that was his name, to step in and help. And with every encounter, everyone just gets infatuated with this doctor in some kind of way. And it's interesting how they say that this is a city that was made to include and try to include all the races, even humans, to coexist. But Gren is the only human you ever see. And
yeah, I think it was more of like an intermingling of monster races was its whole more premise.
Yeah, so it's way more wholesome than the other monster show, Peter Grill. So
it's not really a monster show.
Yeah, okay. But yeah.
All about the Monmusu. There's like 2.
So this is one of those shows that's just, I guess you would call it a guilty pleasure, right? There's not really too much going for it, and I would say, as far as action or even a story. I mean, it has a story, but it's not like really great, I would say. He goes, meets this girl that has a problem. He tries to solve the problem by touchy-feely, and then all of a sudden, misunderstandings happen because of how he's touching them. But, he has the purest intentions while he does it.
I wouldn't credit it that well. I'd say feelings develop because of the way he does things. I wouldn't say there was a misunderstanding.
Maybe. But, yeah. I don't know why I brought this up, but either you watched it or you didn't. But
do me a favor and just start blurting out illnesses and operations that occurred in the show. I saw the first episode, they put horseshoes on a horse lady.
Okay, so horseshoes on a horse lady. The second one was this
horse lady.
this mermaid or mermaid girl.
Was spending too much time out of water.
Yeah, so she got like a sore throat or something. Then you had this bird that was being into slavery, and then they saved.
No, that wasn't the medical issue. But yeah, he was. They busted like a monster girl trafficking ring, and you have to go look at the people. But that went into another arc where like it was about.
Harpy.
Well, it was more about a harpy that integrated. Well, a non-harpy that integrated into harpy society, but she was like a half mix with something else. So she was different from everyone else and didn't know why. Yeah. And then it was discovered.
Oh, but she had complications with an egg or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So you had
I wouldn't
to.
say complication, but yeah, complications.
Yeah, so he had to help her lay an egg or something like that. In episode 3, then episode 4 was. I think that was more of the bird lady, right?
Yeah, more of the bird lady, but then I think near the end of that you also went into the weird Yeti god lady.
Oh, I think there was also like some S&M thing with the horse.
Oh yeah. She was like she wasn't able to focus and stuff. Yeah.
Anxiety, so they had that. Yeah, she had anxiety or something like that, so they had to tie her up and do these weird things to calm her down.
Like put horse blinders on her and stuff. Jesus.
It all makes sense if you watch the show. Trust me. Well, I think.
What else was there? Where did it go from there?
The girl got dizzy, So she passed out, and they didn't know why, and then they finally figured out.
Was that really the jump? I felt like there was maybe something between that, but yeah, no, maybe.
Yeah, there's something in between. I think that was the giant with the cold.
Hmm.
And,
Well, I mean, I already counted that one, but yeah.
uh,
I'd say one of the, and then pretty much from there, like after the dizziness, the last important one is kind of like the whole reason of the show was and I'll let Tank explain it because he kind of started saying somebody's life was in danger, and this is like the only one that deserved it.
oh, yeah. So this one kind of spanned a few arcs, I would say.
Yeah, it was like the reason that the girl became dizzy.
This lady, I think she was like half dragon or maybe something like that. Just humanoid dragon form.
Who lost her dragon form because when dragons descend from the heavens and stay on Earth, they essentially mutate in some way, taking on the various forms of the various dragons that existed throughout mythology, or adopting a kind of semi-human form. But she was full dragon.
Yeah, she somehow got this tumor that kind of became like a heart on the outside of her chest. So he had to feel around her chest to check out this tumor. And then the whole thing was trying to get supplies and get consent to try to operate on her to help heal her, because since she's a dragon, normal tools wouldn't work on her.
Yeah, she's surprisingly tough, and she also wanted to die. She was refusing treatment, so part of it was also delving into the, why are you refusing treatment? So I thought that was kind of like a nice touch.
Yeah.
Like if you have a character who believes that this was their destiny and they're being done in by this intentionally, like.
Yeah, but then the show had to make it weird by having her call him Oni-chan.
Yeah, after she got better, she got younger. Mentally, she got younger.
Yeah, that just became weird. He's like, Oni-chan, you're here. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? And even he was like, why are you calling me that?
You're older than me. By a lot. By more than 400 years.
So I hope that pleases you, Sean. You should.
I'm very pleased now. I don't have to watch the show.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can read the book. There's like 7 books out there, I swear. I bought 2 of them. I think
he'd probably watch the show before he'd read it. It's just my take on the matter.
I bought 2 of the books to read alongside, but I haven't read any of the books. I tried. I was like starting to read it, then I was like, okay, let's read something else. So, even the light novels, I don't know. I really want to read one at least to see if they go more into the etchiness, because it seems that in the light novel versus the anime, he's more aware of what he's doing is seemingly very suggestive or very perverted in a sense of what other people may perceive. Like when he's trying to do this thing with the cowgirl at the first episode, he knows he's touching her in that area, and he feels very ashamed, or not ashamed, but shy about what's going on. But in the anime, it seems like he's just stoic, like I'm so focused.
Yeah.
I'm focused. Like I don't notice what I'm doing could be taken in the wrong context. But in the book,
I think it kind of works better for the show, though. Not because it leads to the action, but because it almost gives a sense of more professionalism to the character.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this is just procedure, and I'm doing the procedure.
Yeah, so that's one thing I noticed just by starting to read the book. But other than that, maybe there's more of a story in the book. I mean, they made 7 of them, so...
And I just realized, by the way, we never told Sean when the one girl got dizzy, it's because she was a cyclops, and she had one eye, and that was relevant, but we just never told the monster breed, I just realized.
I was wondering about that.
That was actually really weird, her design. The cyclops designs, I would say, not just hers. That, Granted, they had one eye, so they gave them one eyebrow, but instead of it being across the center or just even being one eyebrow that's big, they gave them a small one that's to the side of their head.
What? They have an asymmetrical one eyebrow?
So it was really weird, and it wasn't just her, it was all of these Cyclopses. They had just this one eyebrow off to the side. And I didn't know how to feel about it, but then I just forgot about it real fast.
I'm looking it up.
One more monster race for Sean. There was also a zombie girl who wasn't technically sick. She just, her body fell apart and she needed to be stitched back up.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a normal zombie girl problem.
Yeah.
So are there any other shows that we should be... Oh, someone asked, is it like interspecies reviewers? No, there's no sex in this at all. So that's one big difference. And it's tries, I would say interspecies reviewer isn't I don't know how I want to say this. I think Monster Moose or the Monster Girl Doctor tries to be more wholesome, while interspecies is not at all.
See, that's where I feel kind of conflicted though, because I agree with you. It's not the same show, but like at one hand, it kind of is like the same show because like a lot of the Monster Girl shows tend to be this way. With I would say the one exception being like that Centaur Life one, in my opinion, where it was just like a high school setting without this like kind of like super flirtatiousness. So I know reviewers is technically, it's not flirtatious so much as it is we're just going straight up to brothels. That's the show. But like in all other Monster Girl shows, there's like an element of flirtatiousness, and that's present here for sure. So like, no, it's not reviewers, but it's squarely in the vein that it's trying to be for sure.
So, other than that, any other shows you guys want to talk about? Because I have no idea what we should go with next, because the list is pretty spread out.
Is Yahari Ore blah 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 is the sequels to that show better than the first season? Because I've only seen the first season back in the day, and I thought okay.
Oh, the snafu.
Yeah,
because I saw the first season. I only thought it was like okay, but then everyone, it seemed like the stuff that came after that was like blowing everybody's minds, and I feel like I'm missing out on something.
Well, like I honestly can't remember much of season 2 at all. But I did watch this new one, and that's actually something I was remembering, because when the first one started up, it seemed to introduce these somewhat gimmicky characters doing this clubroom thing, and that's like a very typical trope.
Mm-hmm.
But like season 3 hits, and you kind of have these arcs of what the classroom's doing, and it really seemed to have this like paradigm shift where it's definitely a show about the drama, and it seems like a lot more serious now. Like it didn't have the weird gimmicky character introductions, because of course you're already supposed to know the characters, but like season 1 did not feel like season 3 by any stretch of the imagination. The issues were not lighthearted, and they weren't like something that needed it's kind of hard to kind of discuss, because basically season 2 had a lot to do, or season 3, sorry, because I don't remember season 2 at all, had a lot to do with the developing, like, basically relations of high school, and it had a particular focus on how the protagonist was interacting with two girls. He actually had a lot of commentary from other people near their family and friends. Like, that was majorly the focus of season 3, and alongside that you had this kind of crisis of some characters who are realizing that they couldn't do much on their own, and they wanted to change as people, but they wanted to do it on their own, so they didn't feel like accepting help from a lot of other people. But then, like, there was other issues that were too grand to not receive help, and it was this really weird balance of like a lot of that type of drama and situation. And that doesn't really sound like season 1 that much.
So I did rewatch season 2, to get myself ready for season 3, but then I didn't watch season 3. So I may watch it because I did hear a lot of good things about it, and season 2 was I also really enjoyed. I thought where they ended on season 2 was pretty good, and I thought it was a big change, of course, from season 1. But since no one was talking about season 3 at the start, I was kind of worried that I might waste my time. But even the few people that did mention it, they said it was okay or it was good, but they didn't really give it any high praise or that thing like, you gotta see this. It was more or less like, it's good. I'm enjoying it, but
yeah, I'll give it that. It's a really good story, but to me it's just that, a really good story. It didn't do anything spectacularly great, but like at the same time it was very realistic. Like, I could watch something like the Sakura So, right, and say, oh, they've achieved even greater stuff. Well, that was kind of like the point of that show. Whereas in this one, it was very, the stuff that would happen in season 3 specifically, or stuff that could happen for like, student council members or like actual like student crises. And to that, it felt very, very real, but not at the same time, not like, to me, not great. Like, you really had to watch the story play out, and at the end of it all, it's like, would I have recommended, and would I have recommended this? Like, I actually can't remember. The season 1 and 2 were like so long ago that they almost needed to be grouped together better, so I could almost, just because like this is kind of a stretch of a recommendation, because season 3 just hit now, and like if you didn't already watch 1 and 2, you would have to, it's a pretty big ask to have someone go and grab the prior material and marathon 3 seasons to get to this conclusion. I'm like,
I've seen the first season back in its day. I don't remember it that well.
Yeah, that's kind of my problem.
So I have a question.
That's just kind of like the takeaway here, is I think it's going to be like, it was good, but probably like going to be severely forgotten good.
So is this like, we're done with the show now? This is the end of Snafu, or is it still kind of open, like we can continue on?
I don't know which route they're going to go, because honestly there is a little bit more material to happen here, because to give you like a little bit of a spoiler, his younger sister has enrolled in the same school as him now, and I know that they're going to be, going away soon, because that was the whole thing, was like, we're third years, or were they third year? I forget. I don't know if they have another year ahead of them or not. I honestly don't know. But like, they're really looking to see where their lives are going to go on from here, and that would be kind of like the play. That little bit of time where him and his school and his sister have that year that they overlap in, and then like, where do they go from there? That would have to be what the next season's about, and I could see it happening, but I don't know if it will.
All right. So that's our 2-hour mark. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I hope Jessica can stay a little after. I want to hear her thoughts on ReZero. And Nick, you both missed that. That was our first thing we talked about. But other than that, the next season should be starting, I think, maybe next week.
Hey, just for good measure, can I just cover one more title? I know it's a big ask, but because I want to do one of the ones that didn't finish, and I think the one I want to talk about is that racing one, Appare Ranman, if you wouldn't mind.
I want to hear about it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, give me a second. Let me.
Because it looked weird and also bad when I tried to watch it like a long time ago.
Okay, let me just switch the title card then. Ba-da! Appare Ranman.
It is some like weird ass PA Works thing that got delayed because of COVID or something.
Yep.
And yeah,
One of the ones that got delayed, much like, well, we had covered one earlier, but that was not one I put on the list because I didn't watch it.
yeah, I think Great Pretender was also delayed.
I know, I think it just dropped. It might have been delayed, but it dropped all at once. It was.
But I mean, like, I think like the first couple episodes came out like months ago, and then
okay.
it's just kind of
No, I don't know.
it's
I
like-
just noticed the batch drop is all.
yeah, but, yeah, whatever.
So Appare Ranman was something that, you know, at face value looks really weird because you kind of have this kid from Japan who like sources steam parts and built like a mini ship, and you know he's got ambitions, but he's kind of a I wouldn't say antisocial, but like he's so fixed. He's such an engineer that he doesn't really have a social perspective on life. And I was drawn into that element on episode 1. But like I didn't really know where it was going to go from there. And of course we knew the story of like the first 3 episodes was they accidentally set off on an adventure and end up in America and find out that, oh, gasoline engines are like the new thing and we're having this race, and he wants to enter this race, but he kind of has this steamship. And originally what he was going to do was, you know, design his steamship better to win this race amongst gasoline cars. And like it's such a hard sell for the story, but I liked this thing a lot, and it probably took a few episodes to get there. Like it wasn't in, you know, maybe those first 3, but like right around the mid to late season, like right after the hiatus, it really picked up, and I really adored it. I got past the character designs, and I got into what was happening, and that was like kind of like a selling point to me. So to spoil it just like a little bit here and there, the character ends up Appare wins a race against somebody with the stakes being like that person's car and Appare's ability to have a place to live and work out of. Like that was what was up for grabs. And Appare ended up winning, and he gets this car. And Kosame, the Japanese samurai guy, I was like, all right, we're gonna like race this car. We're going to try to win and get enough money to go back home because, you know, he went on this accidental journey and he has life back home. He's not this like antisocial engineer that Appare is. And Appare immediately, like, you know, takes apart this engine. That's something that I liked about his character was he would immediately assess stuff. Like he would go into the math of how things work, and he would just kind of like it all happens in his head in almost like a Stone World kind of way, right? That guy. But so he sets out on to make a hybrid gasoline steam engine where like the heat of the combustion engine feeds the steam engine, and it's all built into his ship car that he originally came over on. And so he doesn't have enough time to complete this. So the race is scheduled in like checkpoints, right? Like you can bypass every checkpoint and head right to the finish line, but you're probably going to need gas. So in this race, whenever you stop at a city, you can get refueled and get food, but you have the moment you check in, you have like a 6-hour delay until you can check out again. So he starts working on his car as he's racing to further complete his incomplete engine. And then like drama happens. You have this like Wild West story where there's an opposition force who doesn't like who's like, you know, he's the Wild West dude where he's the gunslinger who can fight well, but he doesn't like progression too much. He's a little bit like, you know, the antagonist from Stone World, where I have this power now, and if society advances further than what I can handle, I lose my power. So he kind of comes up with this ploy to really ruin the race through, you know, violence and other stuff. And it's how the characters react with their very various backstories and motivations. And like and just how it unveils from there. Like there were certain scenes where interactions. I remember one of the ones that I liked the most was there was this like spa episode where they're like, oh, we're going to go to this this onsen, right? And the onsen is very American onsen because, mind you, while they are talking full Japanese, this is kind of set in America. But unlike Great Pretender, they don't really remind you that not everybody speaks Japanese. But one of the greatest moments was, so like Kosame and Apare go to this onsen with all of the various race characters, and like everybody's in there in their bathing suits because this is America, and like it's like a mixed spa, and these guys just kind of walk out Japanese style, and there's like a big culture shock moment, and it's hilarious. And when the fight happens, like when the Mr. McBad guy, the antagonist, shows up, and the race gets momentarily derailed, you have this interesting like this struggle amongst like the various bad things that he did. Like what's the prospect? Do we just try to continue with this race? Do we let this bad guy's plans play out? Do we interfere with them? And there was like I think I saw that talked a little bit about like on the Sakuga side of things. There was this like cool martial art fight between like a knife wielding character and this like Tai Chi something character, and like I said, it was really well done. Like it wasn't the most amazing choreography ever, but it was something that was above par, and my adoration of the show has just grown from there. And even upon watching its conclusion, I'm like, I think this thing has permanently earned a place on my shelf when it comes out. So I just liked it. I liked its premise. I liked how, because I noticed I like shows where they actively develop something through engineering. I know it wasn't a popular show, but I really liked that Knights and Magic weird isekai show like a few seasons ago, maybe even a year or two ago at this point. But I really liked that sense of Apare continuously developing this thing. And there was like a really cool moment where there's like this race organizer who is an ex-engineer who's almost, I don't know, I wouldn't say embarrassed or shamed by his past, but like he was someone who was developing basically like the supercharger, right? And it's so easy to borrow this stuff. But he kind of like, I can really redesign a gas engine to be a lot more better and more powerful. And he kind of came across like the brass, and the brass is like, but how quickly can you do it, and how much money will it cost? And they didn't like the outlook in the R&D, so they shut that element of his plans down and made him like the tournament advisor. So now he's kind of this jaded engineer, and Apare like sees something in his design. At one point he's looking for something, and he noticed there's like an odd amount of space that's not being used, and he's like, what's up with that? And then like not only does the engineer go like, oh, you have this moment where the engineer's like, oh, you caught that, like, holy crap, I can't believe you did. And then Apare like develops this like crazy new element for his like hybrid steam gasoline engine, and I just love stuff like that.
Huh. I only know a little bit about mechanics, like scarcely any, but I do know that internal combustion engines are complicated, and steam engines are even more complicated.
Oh yeah, like the engineer.
you're trying to put these two very complicated things together.
Like, I'm building this thing, and that ex-engineer guy I was just talking about was like, what are you talking about? And Apare explains it a little bit, and the ex-engineer guy is like, there's like, okay, fine, I get it, but there's no way you can make that. And Apare is all like, you want to come see it? And the guy's just like, no. But it's cool. Like, I liked it a lot. Okay. Way more than I should have. But I think it's a really charming show, but you have to be in for it for that. Like, what you're pretty much going to find is that weird, like, set off on an accidental adventure. Where do characters go when you have the one who wants to go back home and you have the one who's just an engineer? And I will spoil the show a lot more in saying, like, at the end of the race, because I'm not going to tell you who the victor was, it's like, where does everybody go from here? They kind of had that moment where a lot of these characters bonded, but they have to go their separate ways at this point. And it's like, I'm going to go do this thing because that's my background. And Apare's was rather interesting. I'll just leave it at that. And he definitely, spoiler, he definitely grew as a person. From someone who was very indifferent towards people at the beginning, he only chased science. He did end up developing like a little bit of a sense of moral justice, and he doesn't view his bonds with certain people as just disposable. So that was really cool. I like the show a lot.
Yeah, kind of like he runs away from home or something is what happened in the first episode.
He kind of like committed a crime and he didn't want to be held responsible for it. And I think he was going to like run away from home, but not as far as they ended up because somebody accidentally flipped the switch. Was essentially the mechanic there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the narrative. I enjoyed how like the race developed, and like you could tell like initially it was setting up a lot of misconceptions of certain characters. It's like, oh, there's going to be more to the background than what's at play here, and I just like how it all unraveled. How it unraveled, what the opposition came up with, how they had to fight, or like it was almost like Interpret, because there was this growing moment where, and like if I make any of you watch this, I don't want to say like all the best parts. That's the unfortunate thing here. But you kind of had this moment where there was a character who was nearly done in. He would have lost his life, and they get him to a hospital right away, and he's able to live, but that's when a character almost becomes lost, right? You have this moment where one of the characters falls into basically depression over this, and it's pointed out to them that that guy is bad and he's trying to have a lot of these plans, but look, like, this thing has kept me alive, and that's not something that was around many years ago. So like that was that progression element where like that's what the bad guy wants to stop. And it's like this thing has intervened in that bad guy's plans. Do we just let him have his way, or do we show him that his way is not right? And like moments like that is what drew my adoration into the show, because it ended up being a lot more than I thought it was going to be about. Like, I don't get that type of story from the vast, the Demon Lord isekais that I watch or anything. And this show like really surprised me. And I get that it has weird character designs and it might not be perfect, but I ended up really, really liking it a lot. But yeah, thank you for that. I just wanted to talk about the shows that I liked.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to hear about it, because even though like the first episode didn't grab me, it was still like this very curious PA Works thing. I like wanted to hear from someone who actually saw all of it.
All right. So that's the end of what was it? Summer, right? Summer.
Yep.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you for staying and being with us. Can't wait to see you in 2-3 weeks. And I'll post a Discord link in this video. I hope you can join us. Our Discord is kind of dead. But I do make the announcements for these videos there. So if you would to join us and wish to join in these discussions, you can get the information there. Hopefully we can try to bring this back to life, but we'll see what happens. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thank you, Nick and Jessica, for coming. Sean and what's his name? Vinny?
No, I'm pretty sure that's just big. The Vinny's not significant. That's big.
That's right. Big is all that matters.
Yeah, so well, hopefully we'll all be here together for the fall season.